Many of you are just getting into real estate or your first time agents. And when you're new, you have so many questions. You want to know what's going on in real estate. What can you do to get better? So I'm here today with my guy. Noah Waters, who's one of our esteemed agents with Access Real Estate. And in this video, we're just going to go back and forth, basically talking about our first year, giving tips and tricks, everything like you can do to succeed in your first year, because Noah's been having a successful year. So Noah, appreciate you coming on and
thank you for
talking
having
to
me.
the people.
Thank you.
So Noah, great to have you here, to talk with you and bring some value to the people, whether it's home buyers, home sellers, or real estate agents themselves.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, and I definitely do have a few questions, especially being like a newer agent. I was just curious, kind of how, what was your first year like officially? What did you think about it?
My first year was terrible, man. People, when I tell them about it, they're like, it wasn't that bad. But for me, it was that bad. I only sold 2 houses. I got licensed in March. I sold 1 house in August. I sold 1 home in November. And when I got licensed, it was just a crazy time. Literally, the world shut down, like, the moment I got licensed because, COVID. But the thing about that, though, like, everybody was having a great time in real estate except me. It seemed like, everybody in my office at the time, they were selling houses, like, every single week. I'm like, man, like, what's going on? Thought I was doing everything right, but nothing was working my first year.
So from March till the end of the year, you only sold 2 homes.
2 houses. And the thing about that too is, like, when I tell people that, like, oh, you know, part-time, it's okay, like, that's what's happened. I was like, no, I was full-time. I was 80+ hours a week working in that office, first one in, last one out, but nothing was working. And I still had bills that were due. I wasn't just, living with my parents, without a care in the world. I had rent that was due. I had a bunch of bills that were due. Thank God I was, living with my grandma in the apartment, so my rent wasn't that high, but I still had bills that were due. And, I just had to make it work and figure it out.
What do you think that you were doing in those 80+ hours to not see the results you were looking for?
That is a great question. And I love that you asked that question, because I think so many people struggle with that thing now, where they're like, man, I work so hard. I work more than everybody, but I'm not seeing any results. And typically the reason for that is because they're working hard, but they're not working smart. And that's exactly what I was doing. Just working so hard, just like basically throwing a bunch of things at the wall and seeing what sticks. I was bouncing from idea to idea and not sticking to one specific thing. So I was never getting good like I was supposed to, just because I was so scatterbrained just across so many different ideas. So like what I recommend agents now is just spend time on one specific skill until you can almost master that skill. Then once you've mastered that skill, then move on to the next. Because if you just keep on, you try to hit 10 skills at once, you're never going to get good at one, because you're just so scattered. And while you're trying to do 10 things, guess what somebody else is doing? They're working on that one specific thing, and they're all the way up here while you're here and here and here and here.
What would you say is the one skill that you needed to work on the most in your first year?
Handling objections. That would have been the #1 skill that I would say. And I think for any sales job, like, that's, if you can learn how to handle objections, you'll make an unlimited amount of money, because that's all people have at the end of the day. Like, I know from working, at Enterprise and Foot Locker, for example, like, people will come in, they'll know exactly what they want, but when you ask them if they need help, they will need help, but they'll say no. But it's just a natural defense mechanism that people do have. Like, they just like to throw objections out there. So if you can learn how to handle objections, you're good.
Okay, so you said basically your hardest one was handling objections. What did you do to get better at handling the objections?
Reps, over and over, reps. And when I say reps, it's just putting in that practice, especially on the phone. So like, I would call for hours every single day, and most of the time people wouldn't pick up. But when they did pick up, I was hearing a lot of no's. I hated when people were like, how old are you? I hated that question. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I get that all the time.
Yeah, it's tough, but that's feedback at the end of the day, which I love. Now, like, I mean, not now, but even like a year later, people weren't asking that anymore. But I realized, like, why people were asking that is, one, yeah, I sound young, and I can't help that. But also, I didn't sound experienced. I didn't sound like I know what I was talking about. I didn't sound confident. So switch to literally a year later, then, even though I'm only a year later, I'm 21, 22, however old I was, I'm still very young, but I'm confident, I'm experienced. So they're not asking, they don't care how old I am at that point, So yeah, man, just putting in the reps and getting the feedback is what helped out a lot. It helped out tremendously. And when you can get comfortable on the phone, like, the world is your oyster at that point, because that's where you can pretty much make immediate money. I always say, like, if I ever get in a jam, all I gotta do is just pick up the phone. Just give me about a week and get on that phone. We'll be good.
Okay, yeah, no, that's definitely a good way to look at it, especially being like a newer agent myself. I would say the biggest thing that I would struggle with would be the objection handling.
Yeah.
Just because you get kind of nervous, you don't really want to say the wrong thing,
Yeah.
because when you are working with somebody, you're like, kind of want to hold on to them, and
Yeah.
you don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
But I would agree that the biggest part is holding on to your reps and doing as many as you can.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing with that is you got to know that there's going to be times in which you're going to get rejected. You're going to quote unquote fail. People just aren't going to want to work with you. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do about that. Like that's just the way life is, but it's just a numbers game. It's all about how many at-bats that you can have. So if you only do 5 calls, for example, you better be really, really good at converting at that point. Like you better be like phenomenal superstar because you only got 5 at bats versus, you know, the average conversion ratio for an online lead is typically less than 10%. I think 10% is actually very, very good. At that point, you got to be great versus if you make 100 calls, all right, well, you get a 10% conversion ratio. All right, well, now we're cooking. Okay, what if you cook it up to 200 calls and so on and so on? And that's why, like, with the agents, why I'm so big on you guys, like with your KPIs and making sure you're hitting your numbers, because if you don't hit your numbers, you're limiting your opportunities and you have to be just amazingly good, which, you know, just being honest, as a newer agent, even if you have sales experience, you're not really that good yet. And, you know, not saying that just for you, I'm saying that for literally any agent. Like, you're not that good and there's no reason why you would be just because you don't have that experience. But the more you get that experience, the easier it gets and the less calls that you can make. So that's why you may see agents in their later years, they may make 10 calls and get 9 conversions, but they're great, you know?
Yeah, they're good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
So with the KPIs, being a newer agent, that's actually something that I can kind of appreciate because it kind of helps me build a schedule a little bit.
Okay, all right. So PSA, so we did some research and it looks like a lot of people that are watching, you're not subscribed to the channel. So please do me a favor because I'm giving you guys these free videos, free high-level information on real estate and real estate investing. Please, just for me. All you gotta do is click the subscribe button, just subscribe to the channel. Oh, also, just bonus, just share it with a friend who can find this helpful. Thank you. Well, first, before you say KPIs, let the people know what KPIs actually are.
It's a key performance indicator, and it basically kind of tracks your metrics of how you're talking to people and what you need to do throughout the day in order to convert people that are interested in buying a home. I would say the KPIs for me, it was a very good kind of like stepping stone, just because it gave me like a foundation to like build off of. So I came from car sales and we still had to make phone calls. We still had to follow up with people, still had to do face-to-face and all those other interactions. But the difference is when you're at the dealership, you're there, so you don't have a choice. But if you're at your house, then you kind of can get lazy. You can kind of do what you want. So if you don't have like a set schedule or something that you need to stay committed to, some people will fall off the wagon and they may fall off of them. So KPIs in general, I think are very good, even if they're not a necessary thing for your place that you're at. Still kind of build your own. Wouldn't say it has to be like 100 or 200 calls a day. Just something to where you can at least get a conversion rate of at least speaking to maybe 5 to 10 people.
Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, I definitely appreciate you for saying that 100%. Because, man, you know, people think I'm the devil reincarnated for talking about KPIs or holding agents accountable. But the thing is, man, people want to get in real estate specifically. They want to be a real estate agent because they say they want to work less and have more freedom. I'm gonna look at the camera when I say this. If you are starting as a real estate agent, you are not going to have time freedom and you need to be super accountable for yourself. And if you don't, you're not going to be making any money. Let's look at all the agents who have that time freedom in the beginning, who aren't holding themselves accountable. Very rarely do they last in the industry. They may have a quick spurt. They may have like something from the sphere, get friends that can help buy or sell immediately, but they're not going to last long. It never happens. You have to dedicate the time. And this is one of those beautiful careers though, in which like you don't always have to work, you know?
True.
You can, I think the best path is you start out like you spend that, put that time in, put that work in, and then within a couple years you can convert it to, all right, now I'm scaling back. Now I'm working less. Now I'm bringing in other people to help out the business, you know, so on and so on. But for those agents who want that time freedom, you know, who don't want to work real estate full time, they're going to be the ones who are stuck in the rat race. And like, I hate to say it, you know, not to bag on old people or anything like that, but there's agents who are like 60 years old, 70 years old that are driving people to houses. I'm like, man, I don't really think that's the best way to live. You
That's
know?
crazy.
Like, that's not the best way. You're worried about Zillow leads and, you know, cold calling and showing houses at 70 years old. Like, that's not the way to do it, I don't think. Now, if that's how they want to live their lives, okay. But I feel like there's a better alternative that is out there. And you can achieve that better alternative just by putting in the work at first and just putting in that grind. It'll get ugly for, a little bit. But the thing is, it's all about longevity. Who's gonna last the longest at the end of the day? Like, just remember the race of the tortoise and the hare. Who won the race? The tortoise. But the tortoise, he won because he was slow and steady versus the hare who just wanted it all, just going out there, sprinting fast. He lost stamina. Tortoise was slow and steady. He was committed to his position. He knew exactly what he needed to do, which you could call his KPIs in a sense. And that's how he won the race. So it's the same as that thing in business.
That's very true.
So Noah, you had your first closing experience recently and you got another closing coming up soon. So tell me, like, how was that first closing experience?
Honestly, as somebody that is a brand new agent and my first time being there, I was honestly a little scared just because I really didn't know what to expect. But really the big thing is just being there for your client and making sure that they're not, worried, there's nothing crazy going on and all the paperwork is at least correct on your end.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just be there for them.
Yeah.
Really not much to do in all honesty. I thought there was like this big thing where we had a lot to do. But it's really just showing up and being there for your client and, assuring them they're going to get their keys and now the home is theirs.
Yeah, that's what's up. Okay, that's great. Yeah, I remember my first one, man. I wore a suit for that one. That's when I was still in my suit stage a little bit. I remember I didn't have a haircut or like shave or anything like that because like money was low. I couldn't even get a haircut or nothing. My closing gift, literally, I went to the Dollar Tree, made like a surprise bag basically. Put like 10 things in there, like a clear shower liner, some bath stuff, little decor, things like that. I was balling on the budget, man. What can you say?
I respect it.
Had about $20 that I could spend. And yeah, that's what I did. But I just tried to make it look nice because that was a big thing for me, is like the experience. You want the home buyer to have a great experience. And it's like, regardless of if you have money or if you don't, you can still provide them with a great experience. That's why I always try to make sure to show up for any closings. Why I suggest you guys always be there for their closings too. Because like, even though we may do a lot of transactions for them, this may be their first time purchasing. And even if there's not, this is still something that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. So we can take the time to be able to be there for them and give them that great experience.
No, I agree. It's definitely 100% about the experience. Yeah. What would you say is the biggest thing that brought you to the next level in real estate?
Great question. The biggest thing that brought me to the next level was I had to stop being selfish. And when I say selfish, was I wanted to keep all the money that came in, but I was limiting myself with that because I'm only one person at the end of the day. I only have 24 hours that's in a day. So as much as I would love to keep all the money that's coming in, it's just not the smartest way to do it. And like we said, we have 24 hours, but what if I want to do other things? What if I want to travel? What if I want to go to the gym? What if I want to go to the beach? Things like that. Now the business is restricted, and that's what was happening. Like, so many leads and such were coming in to the point where I couldn't handle it. So it's like, okay, I can still try to keep all this money to myself, or I could outsource. I could bring in other people that can help service the leads. Yeah, I got to give up some money, but at the end of the day, does it help out overall? Yes, it does. It helps more people now. More people can be served. And also too, now the business can bring in more money. We can bring in more revenue. We can bring in more clients. That way we can still maintain that 5-star service, because you get to a point where you start to get big, where if you have a lot of like clientele, for example, it's very hard to maintain that yourself and to still give 5-star service. Like, as much as you try, it gets to a point where it's pretty much impossible. To like look at your like bigger restaurants or your bigger stores, things like that, they're always gonna have those 1-star reviews, versus your mom and pop shop. They might have all 5-star reviews, but they got 10 reviews. Versus you go to like Walmart, it's got like 100,000 reviews, and a lot of them may be 1 stars, they may be 2 stars, but they have way more clientele, and that means more opportunities, more revenue coming in for the company. So that was the biggest thing for me, is just stop being selfish, And I love it too, because it's giving people opportunities to be able to, build their business in the way they want to. So that's what I liked about it. Being that you are still in your first year, what would you say is the most valuable lesson that you learned your first year so far?
I would say probably the most valuable thing that I learned is probably just respect your time is the biggest thing.
Okay.
Because like you said, you only have 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
And being a real estate agent, especially being new, if you don't use your time correctly,
Yeah.
you're not going to get anything done that you need to get done.
Mm.
So the biggest thing would be just setting a schedule for me that I had to adjust to and learn to. And that's still the best thing that I'm learning the most. Of course, it would be maybe like objection handling and things like that, but you won't even get to the objections or anything like that if you don't start your day right.
For sure. Okay, I love that you said that about respecting your time. So give them an example of what to not spend your time on, I would say.
I would say don't spend your time on being scared of doing things that you think you're not good at, because you're never going to get better at it if you don't do it.
Okay.
So best thing you can do is have reps, keep trying at it, and you're going to spend all this time thinking, hey, I'll never be able to do this. But if you sat down and did it for an hour, who knows, you might be pretty good at it, or you could at least get better at it. But you're going to spend more time thinking that you can't do it than just doing what you need to do.
That's good. I love that. And I love that you mentioned the schedule too. So free plug, guys, if you guys are a real estate agent and you need help on making a daily schedule to make more money and have more time, have more opportunity in your business, make sure you click the link in the description and book an appointment with us. We'll gladly consult you on how to create that perfect daily schedule for you.
So you said in your first year you only sold 2 homes. In your second year, how many homes did you sell?
24. Shout out to Kobe. 24. The biggest thing in that was, like I said, that first year I was working hard, but I wasn't working smart. That second year I learned how to work smart. The first year I was doing a lot of things by myself, to be honest with you. A lot of that was due to COVID. Like, you couldn't really talk to many people. And also I was kind of standoffish. Trying to get used to the corporate world, trying to get used to the industry was a big adjustment for me. The second year I was like, okay, like I need to stop playing. Like I need to, be more open, be more receptive to criticism, like talk to more people who are more experienced. So I got hooked up directly with a mentor, and she helped me out a ton to moving my business instead of just working so hard, but to working smarter at that point. And that was one of the biggest things. Like, I didn't really do too much different. I just basically adjusted what I was doing and just cut useless things that weren't making any sense,
So you would say like your biggest change or flip was possibly like finding a mentor and just getting out there more.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that real estate agents, when you're new, like I know a common thing that real estate agents, when they reach out now, they're like, okay, should I join a team or should I be solo, so on and so on. A lot of them, they want to be solo because they're like, oh, I want to make as much money as possible. But 100% of zero is still zero. And it's going to be zero if you're starting out solo, more than likely, unless you just have somebody who's willing to mentor you on the side or something like that. Because there's so much that you don't know in real estate. That real estate school, you can vouch for that. The real estate school doesn't teach you. You're going to know the, square footage of an acre.
Maybe 1% transfers over.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But when you actually step into what they say the real estate streets, it's the wild, wild west. It's a lot of things that you would have no idea about. And it's very hard, like starting by yourself with no support. So I recommend all the agents, like, get some type of support, get some type of infrastructure behind you, and then you can grow it to be what you want to be. But for new agents, don't worry about the money at first. Just focus on the skills.
All right, Chris, so we're gonna rapid fire some questions at you real quick. All right, before we gotta get to our meeting here in a moment.
Yeah.
So the first one I wanted to ask is, what is your worst experience with an agent?
Worst experience with an agent, I was dealing with this one agent who would not pick up the phone. He would not respond no matter what. And the thing is, like, we were past our closing deadline. There was supposed to be a very specific repair that was made. It wasn't made. He wasn't responding. So literally I had to, this is back in my younger days, I'll say, before, media training, before I had corporate training, I'll say. So, what am I do? I'm gonna pull up. So I went to his office and I pulled up. I was like, yo, like, what's happening? Like, what's up? And, when I pulled up, it was different energy though. He was very receptive. He was very communicative. And then, okay, that situation was supposed to be fixed. Now, going back to a few days later, there was another situation that came up. Same issues, not communicative. So I wrote him a long email, and he didn't respond to me, but he responded to a lender on the deal. He said, yeah, I'm not talking to this guy again. I'm only talking to you. So I'm like, all right, bet. So I pulled up again.
That's crazy.
But this time when I pulled up, he wasn't there. It's a good thing he wasn't there because, I was younger. Like I said, I was younger back then. But that was probably my worst experience with the agent. All in all, the deal got closed. But, sometimes people need a little bit of straightening.
I understand that. What is the worst experience you've had with a client?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, man. I try to be sensitive to people because I know like people deal with different things, but I had this one crazy person.
Mm.
Like yeah. I don't know what was going on with them. I think I had met them from like an online, no, they had reached out to me via socials saying they were interested in, seeing a house, went to the showing. Everything was cool there. Then they were, asking about, putting an offer and things like that. I let them know, hey, you got to be pre-approved to put an offer because they didn't want to be pre-approved at first. I did show them the house before without them being pre-approved, but I let them know you have to be pre-approved to put in an offer. And they basically like cussed me out for that. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna respond to that because why? And then they texted me, I think the next day at like 3 a.m.
Wow.
and basically like just kind of like berating me. And then the next day they like triple texted me again. They were like what's up? Like, why didn't you respond? I was like, hey, like I don't respond to messages that late. I respond to messages starting at 9 a.m. And they were basically like, no, you're gonna respond when I tell you to respond and all of this stuff. And like they were like, yeah, you shouldn't be following me on Instagram. Like that's very, very weird and like sexually disturbing. I'm like, bro, you follow me on Instagram and ask to see a house. Like, what do you like? Like, I'm confused here. What is going on? But yeah, man, I had to end up blocking that client because they were like, yeah, I'm gonna tell everybody and like put you on like an offender list. I'm like, bro, all I did was show a
It's
house.
crazy.
I'm like, man, is it that hard to get pre-approved or something? Like, goodness gracious, projecting or something. But yeah, that was like my craziest experience with a client.
What would you say is the most underrated thing in real estate?
Most underrated thing in real estate is going to your clients' closings. I would say a lot of agents, when they start to get bigger, they stop doing it. But I love going to the clients' closings because I love seeing their face of satisfaction, seeing their joy that they have, when they purchase their property or when they sell their property. For many people, like this is like the biggest financial transaction that they'll ever make. This is one of like a lifelong core memory that they'll have. So just being there for them, I love that, and I think it's super underrated. I think more agents need to start attending all their closings.
No, I agree. What would you say is one overrated thing about real estate?
Most overrated thing about real estate, I would say, is this whole luxury aesthetic that everybody wants to have. I'll say, first of all, most agents, they're not doing luxury. Luxury is a very hard market to break into in the first place. People, you just gotta meet people where they are. Most of your clients aren't even luxury in the first place. I think for like a new agent starting out who wants to work luxury, I don't really think that's the best move unless you already have connects that are in that market. Like if you grew up in that luxury market, things like that, that's a bit different. But if you're just a regular person, why would a luxury client want to work with you? And there's a lot of people that are kind of like fronting or like faking it till they make it. I don't think that's the best thing to do. I think it's best to just be your true authentic self and attract who's supposed to be for you. And the people that aren't, okay, cool, they can work with other people, but the people that are for you, they're going to adore you, they're going to love you, and that's going to create further business for you. All right, Noah, so I appreciate the conversation, man. I think this has been great. I think this will be very useful and valuable for people who are in real estate, whether they're new, whether they're experienced, looking for some more refreshment on ideas and things like that. So I appreciate you coming on again. Let the people know where they can find you at.
Yeah, my name is Noah and I'm with Assets Real Estate Team, and a big thank you to Chris for having me on. I definitely learned a lot, and hopefully he can help you guys do the same.
Tell them where they can follow you at too.
Oh, follow me on
Yeah.
Instagram at Noah Waters, or I'm sure you can find me on the website and Facebook, same thing, Noah Waters.
Yes, sir. All right, Noah, appreciate you. And for you guys who are interested in anything real estate or real estate investing related, watch the next video. Bye.